Hi everyone, I'm Paul. Thanks for checking out HouseCon. I'm going to walk you through how to use the site. It is still in beta, so bear with me. There may be a few things missing, or you may encounter a few bugs. By all means, please get in touch and report anything that you see to me, whether it's feedback for a feature you wish it had or a weird issue you encounter. You can contact me. You can hit the support button and just log a ticket. That'd be great. Or you can message me on my blog. That's paulsgameblog.com. I'm also on Facebook, Paul's Game Blog, and Twitter at Paul's Game Blog. However you want to get in touch with me, I appreciate any and all feedback. And hopefully we can finish out this site and I can launch it for general use. Right now, you can sign in. Basically, anyone can register for the site, but only people who've been approved for the beta can create conventions. So if that's you, and you want to make a new con and you don't have access, just drop me a line and I'll be happy to give you beta access. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to sign in. Like I said, anyone can register. It requires just an email address, and it does the standard, like, sends you an email, makes you click a link to prove you are who you are. So I'm going to log in here. You may notice in this video that the URL bar up here says localhost. That's because I'm running against a development server here with some fake data in it, so I can show you all the features. The real one is obviously on housecon.net, which you probably where you found this video. So here we go. Okay. So when you log in, right, there's a bunch of buttons. So there's a fact that I've started working on. It's probably missing a lot of stuff. As you guys ask questions, maybe I'll flesh that out some more. Archive for conventions that have happened in the past, but my conventions is really the main place where we're going to see stuff. So at the top, you're going to see conventions that are current. This one obviously happened in the past, but this is my test data. I've been using this software myself for 10 years now, and it works great for my user base of 1. Anyway, we're going to ignore this for a second. Most people, when you first log in, at best, you're going to just see this little block here about the invite code, about, hey, you've been invited to a convention, enter your code here. I'll show you how that works in a minute, but for those of you in the beta test, you want to start a convention, so let's hit the button and create a new convention. All right, not a lot of info to type in at the first start. Obviously, you got to give it a name. The name will appear in the URL you're going to share with people, so, give it something good. So I'm going to start my HouseCon. What dates is it going to run? Let's see. Let's pretend that this one's going to go from June 14 to 16. Location, we can put whatever location you want here. This is not a required field, but users will see a little button for, like, show me the location of the convention on a map on Google Maps. So put a reasonable location here if you can. Let's just say this is happening in Boston. Cool. Okay. Last field here is max games. This is a field. Don't worry about getting this right away. You can come back and change these settings later. Maximum games is basically puts a cap on the number of games your users can register, so that you don't end up with so many games that they can't possibly all run, and people end up with not enough players in their games. You'll figure this out as you go, but you can certainly just leave it at the default of 0, which is no maximum. That's the easiest thing. So we'll go ahead and create our convention. Okay, great. The next major piece is selecting the time slots, and this thing you wanna get your time slots right up front. You can certainly muck with this and save your changes and come back to it, but once the convention's running, it's not really a thing that you can change. So think carefully about how you're doing this. I should also point out that like the time slots are basically going to force you to make all your time slots the same duration. That may feel weird, but the point is the whole way the site works is that as people register their games, they're not selecting specific times to run their games. They're just saying, I want to run this game. It takes this many players, etc. But it's not scheduled to a specific time. And when players select what games they want to play, they rank their favorite games, and then you run the scheduler at the end, and that figures out who gets to play in what games and when those games are going to happen. Sort of the more we leave it open and the fewer variables we fill in, the more leverage the system has to really build a great schedule. So let's set some stuff up here. Let's say it's Friday. We're gonna go Friday to Sunday. Maybe it really starts on Friday night. So let's say we're gonna have our first slot up Friday at 7. I just click here and it creates the slot. I can drag that slot around. If I'm not happy with it, I can nix it. But let's say our first one's 7 to 11 p.m. And then we're going to get up stupid early the next morning and do one at 8 to noon and maybe then have some lunch. Maybe we'll do a 1 to 5 and then another 7 to 11. Leave ourselves a little gap for dinner there. And then maybe Sunday we'll go again, maybe till 5 p.m. and then we're done. Then everybody goes home. Okay, great. Like I said, you can hit the save button. That'll save your changes so far. So if you want to think about it some more and come back, if it turned out I was wrong, these I really only want 2-hour slots, we can do that, and then I can fill in some of the blank spots or whatever. But I personally, for my uses, I've always used 4 hours. That seems a pretty reasonable amount of time for any role-playing game. So I'm going to save them, and then once you're done and you're happy with this, we can hit the Start Convention button. And this is going to bring us into a state where you're about ready to, expose this to your players. Up here, there's a Settings tab. That'll get us back to those original couple of settings we entered. The name, the dates, the location. There's this little cheater thing here that'll let you jump the state of the convention. I'll cover that some more in a bit. But for now, we're happy with our slots. That seems reasonable. Let's hit the Start Convention button, and it gives me, are you sure? Yep, let's do it. Okay. At this point, we're in game registration mode. So now this is where I would start inviting players and get them to start listing their games. We have a couple more tabs up here at the top. These are only available to admins of the convention, and you can promote other members of your convention to admins so they can muck with this stuff too. Go into the attendees tab, and you can see here's me. I'm Mario Speedwagon. I'm an admin, and I'm the only one currently attending the convention. It's going to be a lonely time. Let's invite some people. Okay, great. I have no pending invitations, but I want to send some new invitations. So let's write some email addresses in here. So you can write as many email addresses as you want in here. Separate them by spaces or commas or whatever. Just keep them separated here. It's not terribly picky. And we can write a message to include in that email that it's going to send to people. Hey guys, check out my awesome convention. Whatever you want to put in there. Hopefully you've warned some of your friends this is coming or whatever. But if not, maybe put a few more words in here. Send invites. Okay, so that's really going to send emails to all those people. They're going to get a nice formatted email from the convention, from HouseCon, that says, hey, you've been invited to this convention. Here's a message from the organizer. Click here to accept. So you can see here, I've got these pending invitations, so I can see who's accepted the invites yet or who hasn't. Let's I'm gonna grab a new window here. So let's log in as one of these users. So like I said, the email includes a button that's sort of a one-click button that will do pretty much everything. It'll walk them through signing up for an account if they don't have one, and then it'll give them access to the convention. But maybe your user doesn't do that. Maybe they're like, I'm going to check out this site first. And so they come in and they do it the hard way and sign up for an account. That's certainly possible. If they do, when they come into the convention space, this is what most people are going to see, right? It's just the invite. Do you have a code? Again, I can still click that magic link in the email, but maybe I'm being very anal and I want to just manually say, oh, I got this code. The email includes the code for the user. It's pretty obvious. So I could say, okay, I'm going to accept this invite code. Cool. Okay, so now here I am. This looks pretty similar to what my admins saw over here, right? Except that there's a few less buttons. If I log out and come back in, right, I'm going to see, here's my HouseCon and my link to the map, and get back in here. So, okay, I am Max Emum here, and I'm going to submit a game. So, because I guess I'm a GM, and I'm going to submit a game. So here we go. There's a little text here about, just saying thanks. It's great. We need you GMs to run games. And a little reminder about how the time scheduling thing works. Again, that's sort of the weird thing that people need to accept and get over. Is that they're not going to tell us what time they really want to run this game. So, cool. I'm going to run, I don't know, I'm going to run and keep on the Borderlands game. Let's play original D&D module. People in the Borderlands. So, like any convention, you know, name and description are like the major things that your players are going to see and decide if they like the game or not. So, write a good description, I guess. You know, I didn't include some fields here like what system it is or what edition of the system, right? I just kept it down to just a name and description. In practice, what I found was that all those extra fields aren't really necessary when it's a small group and probably every player is going to read the description of every game. You know, I can put right here in the description, we'll use basic D&D, or we'll use Labyrinth, Lord, we use first edition. We'll use first edition AD&D. Let's play AD&D module. Cool. It will be awesome. Obviously, you should put a little more thought into your description. I have thought of actually adding the ability for convention organizers to add additional custom fields if you do want to separate stuff into separate fields, but for now it's just name and description. And then min and max players, this isn't really exposed to people when they sign up for stuff, but this is super important to the system to know how many people can you actually seat at your table. And it really encourages your GMs to be realistic. Like, give us as wide a range as you can, because that gives us flexibility, but be realistic. So let's say really no less than 3, and maybe I could take, like, I don't know, up to 8 people, and then it's getting crowded. All right, we have preferred time slots here. This allows users to nudge the system a little bit. Like, maybe I'm running a Cthulhu game, and I think it would be really cool and spooky to run the game at night. So I want to say, gosh, I'd really like it to be Friday or Saturday night. It's not going to enforce it. You might not get the preferred time slot, but the system's going to do the best it can. Or I can leave them all unchecked, is the same as leaving them all checked, which basically says I don't care, whenever, doesn't matter. There's a second chunk of forbidden slots. This is really like, no, literally I can't. Like, I'm going to leave Sunday at 3, so please don't schedule my game for a time slot that's just not possible for me to run. And again, I encourage folks to, like, use the preferred time slots if you must, but like, try to avoid the forbidden slots as much as you can. A little note here about once you submit your game, it's going to be visible to everyone. Everyone's going to see it. You can still edit it up until the moment when the admins actually close game registration. So that kind of timing of when we shift from one stage to the next, there's not a lot of automation around that. That's up to you, the convention organizer, to figure out when you want to shift and to communicate that to your players. That part's not really in the site, but okay, let me submit a game. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, so now when I come in here, I can see created this game. Great. Here it is. Keep on the Borderlands, being run by Max Emum, and as Max, I can come in here and edit it. And maybe I decided really 3 is too few. I run at least 4 players. Let's update that. And or hey, maybe turns out I can play Sunday afternoon after all. So let's change that. Cool. Over here as Mario Speedwagon, we can see that there's a game here. Basically, I don't have an edit button here because this is not my game. You're only going to get the edit and delete buttons if you're the person who created the game. We can see, just real quick to look, the attendees list does show Max now. I do have the ability to set him to admin if I want. I can also delete him if I'm like, I don't know how you got in here. It was a mistake. I should have never invited you because you're a jerk. I don't know, something, if you need to delete that. We can see over here, there we go, invitations updated so that Max is clearly accepted, so he's no longer a pending invitation, but we haven't heard from Paul Moliv. And we can come back here and muck with our settings if we want to change convention settings or whatnot. You'll notice also this is where, as admin, I get a list of like, okay, here are all the games, and you know what, sorry, you're not playing nice, or there's something wrong with your game, or whatever. I can forcibly delete it. Also want to go over the stats block over here. This is actually pretty cool, especially the supply and demand stats. You'll notice, so it shows a game supply and a game demand. The game demand is literally like the number of slots times the number of players. So it's how many people do I need to sit at a table, so that nobody's sitting around not playing games, because who wants to go to a convention and not play games? That's weird. The supply is the sum of the minimum and maximum values of all the games. offset by 1 for each game because obviously GM's got to go to their own game. But that gives you sort of a range of like the minimum number of seats, sort of player seats you need to sit, and the maximum number of player seats you could possibly sit. The point is, what you really want to see is you want to see a game demand number that's kind of comfortably in the middle of the supply range. That way you know, like, you have enough room to seat everybody, but every game isn't like so chock full of players that there's no room to budge. So yeah, something where demand is right in the middle of supply is the most comfortable. Great. So let's go back here, and I'm going to take a look at this HouseCon 12, which is a convention I actually ran recently using this system, and this has got just chock full of data from when I ran it back in April. The usernames have been changed to these silly names to protect the privacy of folks, but otherwise this is real data from a convention I ran. So if we take a look at that, we get into settings here. You're gonna see, right, so here's a good long list of games. Blah blah blah. Look at my stats, right? We can see that like my game demand 125 is nicely comfortably in between 82 and 158. We'll not worry about registration submitted just yet, but because right now we are in the game submission stage. Now again, this is where I can sort of nudge the system, force the system into previous states. If I'm like, oh, you know what, I screwed up on the slots, I need to change them. I'm going to go back into setup mode, so I can get in here and muck with the slots, right? Great. But it gets a little wonky if you change the state out from under the system in weird ways. Like, you really shouldn't go back into setup stage and change your time slots if we're already into schedule building time, because it's going to break stuff. So use this with caution, I guess, is my advice. But that's useful if you need to, like, you know, go make a change that doesn't seem to be available anymore in this current state of the convention. Cool. I'm going to use that a bunch in this demo so that I can show you all the different states. So let's say we've got a good number of games. We're happy with our settings. We're going to go into player reg mode. And again, we get are you sure? Confirm. Yes, I am. Okay, now we get into game selection. Let's see. Does Max Emum have access to this convention? I think probably not. No, it doesn't. Okay, great. Let's give Max. Let's send Max an invite to. Send that, please. Grab the code. Max is coming in. Great. Okay. So now when Max Emum comes in and wants to look at HouseCon 12, they can see here, this is the player registration site. So at this point, we've logged all our games. Our game registration is done. We're now into player game selection. And this is the form that every player is going to have to fill out. Our first section, most important, is when are you available? Because maybe Max isn't going to get there till Saturday morning, so maybe not available Friday. Games I'd like to play. So again, the system works by having every player not only select all the games that they're interested in, and hopefully more games than they could possibly play, but also ranks them in an order that they put their favorite game at the top of the list and their less favorite games lower down in the list. And the system is going to try and build a schedule such that as many players are in as high of their top choices as is possible. So right now you can see I've got no games I want to play, but in the games I do not want to play section, we see all the games. Right, again, so like as I said before, the expectation here is that every player can sort of wrap their brain around every game in the convention, which is why this is really built towards small game conventions with a bunch of friends, as opposed to like your big 1,000-person game con where, you know, looking at a giant list of every game in the convention is maybe a bit much. So when I'm in here, I guess I also want to point out that the site, the formatting of the site maybe looks a bit blocky here, and that's because it was totally optimized to work really well on your mobile device. My expectation is probably most of your players who are not GMs, they're going to just crack this open on their phone and quickly page through and do some stuff. So I can see the games, I can just see their names right now, but I can click on any of them and get the full info of the description and the, what's going on with that game. And I can start clicking the plus buttons to add them. to games I want to play. Maybe Assumption of the Flesh. That sounds good. Outdoor Spoliation. I've heard good things about that. I don't know. Tomfoolery runs great games. Let's play that. Cool. So now I've got these games, and maybe Outdoor Spoliation is my favorite, so I'm going to bump that up to the top of my list. And down here at the bottom, I have the submit button. Boom. Okay. Now I have my game choices here. Again, I can still expand them out to see the full description so I can get a little reminder. Have an edit button so I can go back in and change my selections up until the point where the admins shut this section down and move on to the scheduling moment. Also notice I have this warning up here. So Max has done a really terrible job, right? These are 3 game choices for a game convention that has 5 total time slots. So Max already isn't going to make it into more than 3 games. But even if I went in here and added, 2 more games, I think we're still going to see that warning. And it tells me that based on your availability, we recommend selecting at least 8 games. That's because Max in this selection here was not available Friday night. So if we change that, that recommendation is going to go up to 10. The system really wants at least double the total time slot so that it has some flexibility. In practice, if everybody selected exactly 5 games and there are 5 time slots, that really forces the system into putting those games into time slots that don't compete with each other to allow this player to go to all their games. So, for example, if Assumption of the Flesh and Outdoor Spoliation both happen on Friday night, Max here would be screwed because there'd be a time slot where Max would get to play nothing. So really, the system works better if you encourage your players to choose more games. Again, this is just a warning. It's totally fine. Max can say, no, I'm cool with that, and maybe those 2 games end up in the same time slot, and there is a time slot where I don't get to play anything, and I'm fine with that. In which case, okay, great, do that. But let's assume that Max wants to play nice, and so he's gonna pick bunch of more games. Was that enough? Oops, I just removed that one. That's not what I meant to do. Let's put a couple more in there. Maybe I really like Lost Tomb of Rahotep. Come on, bump up there. Ooh, I may have just found a little bug. Let's save my choices here and see if I can come back in here and get. There we go. I want to get Lost Tomb of Rahotep up at the top, and maybe really like Strahd Must Die. Maybe I'm less interested in board games. Bring that down. Maybe I really like, right? So you get the idea, right? I can bump things up and down all I want, and I can keep changing my mind and moving stuff around. But here we go. I've got 12 games. There are my game choices. Great. Okay, let's go back and look at what's going on from the admin's perspective. Again, the admin probably is attending as well, so the admin gets to make some game choices as well. Basically act just like a player. We've got a bunch of attendees, invitations, that none of that's changed. But in the settings tab, we can see here all of our games, our stats, again, still okay in the demand. Our demand went up a bit because I've added Max. Also, I see this little section here of registration submitted. So that's how many people have gone through the process and actually picked games. So I can see 25 out of 26 of my players, my attendees, have actually bothered to register. I can hit this button and actually see who forgot to submit a game. Pizzeria. So I can go contact Pete and say, hey, Pete, submit your registration already. Cool. But let's say Pizzeria is a total flake and just hasn't submitted stuff, and I say, fine, Pete, whatever, man, we're gonna get this going. So I'm gonna begin the scheduling mode. Okay, bang, we're in scheduling mode. At this point, if Max Emum over here comes and looks in at HelgaCon 12, he's gonna see a nice little message that just says registration's closed, you can't modify stuff anymore, scheduling process is in way, check back later for when it's done. As an admin, I get these cool sections of, let's just give this a little more space. Great. 3 choices of how do you want to do your scheduling? Nuke it, grill it, or bake it. These really only are different in the amount of time it's going to spend trying to build the schedule. The more time you give the system, the better the schedule it's likely to find. Um, Honestly, like Nuke It is just runs for a few seconds. It's just usually just for a quick test. It's not going to make a great schedule unless like it's a really small convention. Fewer players and fewer games makes it can get through pretty quick. Grill It, depending, might make a decent schedule. It runs for I think a good 10 or 15 minutes, and yeah, it depends again. Like a slightly smaller convention, I don't know for something the size of HelgaCon with like 25 players and 15 games or 18 games, whatever it was. Grill It might work, it might not. I would be more comfortable with baking at that size. Um, uh, don't worry about your choice. You could come back and do it again as much as you want. So let's just nuke it and see what happens. So here we get the progress, and it's going to try and build some schedules for me, and it's just going to show me here. Here are the top 3 schedules I've built so far, and I'm going to keep trying. The scoring system is kind of like golf. The lower the score, the better. We get a little message here that says that my best score is 267. Can't get any better than that. You can see the scores are going down as it slowly builds. You probably noticed some ridiculously big scores back there for a moment. The scores are a cumulative total of the rank that every player ranked their game, but also there are some big penalties if the schedule does really stupid things. Like, for example, if it puts a player, if a player gets no game, or it puts a game in a time slot that was forbidden, or if it puts a game, I don't know, if he double books somebody, right? These things give giant penalties, and so those quickly filter to the bottom and go away. In this case, like with 1,000 over 1,000, I probably still have some kind of weird penalty in there of some game that's not in a good state. I would really expect something closer to the theoretical score. Like maybe I'm not really going to hit 267. The best theoretical score is really theoretical because it assumes that every player gets into their top games. So for a convention where there are 5, or I'm going to play 5 games, the expectation is that I'm in games 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's not going to happen for everyone. Okay, so here are my couple of schedules that I built. I can hit the preview button to sort of take a peek. What's the schedule like? And it's going to show me for each time slot. Here's the game. Here's the score. Here's the rank that each player who's playing in it gave it. As well as we're going to see idle players and unavailable players. The difference between those is unavailable players are players who specifically checked that box that said, I'm not going to be there Friday night, so I can't possibly play. So there's no penalty for being unavailable because that's just the nature of, those players told us they can't play at this time. Idle players are players who wanted to play in that time slot and ended up with nothing. We'll notice Pizzeria is always idle because Pete never submitted any choices, so we have no idea what to do with Pete, so he's going to be consistently idle. However, Pete is also in that block where he was in the warning thing, which told him, like, you haven't made enough choices, so you may end up idle. So because he's in the warning zone, we don't get a lot of penalties to the overall score for him being idle, but we are going to get penalties if somebody else was idle. So we can page through here and sort of take a peek at like, how good of a schedule did it make. Right, so here's a case where this one is 124, right? So obviously that 124 is well more than the sum of these scores. So something is a little wrong with this. Maybe it's just not its preferred time slot, or that's probably what it is. At 100, that's not a big penalty. We might see like 100,000 if it was something like there's not enough players for this game to run. It's below minimum, something like that. Okay. At this point, I can accept one of these and make it official and say we're done. I can discard the schedules and do it all over again. Great. Let's nuke it again. Actually, some more schedules is what I was hoping to show you guys. Yep. It turns out the system is just doing a little better than I had hoped, and we're consistently getting some pretty low scores. Cool. So we can look at this one. 5,672 is pretty terrible score. So we're going to see some stuff I expect, like, here you go. That's a lot of idle players on Saturday afternoon. What happened? Somehow it put games that probably had fairly low max player counts into this time slot, and so it just couldn't seat everyone. So not great. Not great. Okay. So at some point you're gonna run this enough times where you've found a schedule you like and you're gonna hit accept, right? What I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna come over here and just bump us into the next state, because when I hit accept, we jump into the running state. Once we're running, the schedule now shows the actual schedule. Okay, let's jump over here and look at what this looks like for a player. I'm not going to use max emum because we just added max. And so max isn't going to have good data. I want to show you some good test data. Here's Paul Moliv. Paul Moliv is going to look at his schedule, right? Okay, so we can come in here. We can see the full schedule, every time slot, every game, who's playing and what. You'll notice it's not showing things like who idle players and unavailable players. You know, this kind of unavailable is not really particularly useful information. Players know when they're unavailable. And idle players, hopefully the convention made a good enough, or hopefully the scheduler made a good enough schedule that no one's idle. That's the hope. But I can certainly go over here to look at my schedule, and here's a nice sort of breakdown of just what am I as Paul Moliv doing. Here's each game, who's the GM, what time it is, with the full original description so I remember what the heck I signed up for. While the convention is running, this is always available, right? I can just look at this thing, and that's what a running convention is going to look like. Super handy to have this. You can pull this up and look at it on your smartphone while you're at the convention. You could print these up. They should format reasonably well, so you can like print them on normal paper and post them around the location of your convention or whatever. Eventually, the convention is going to end, at which point you're going to come and mark this guy as archived. I still haven't figured out if that's going to automatically happen after the date of the convention or if that's going to be a manual step. But either way, at this point now, it no longer shows up in conventions, but we can still go into the archives and look at our archives. Yeah, it's more interesting for a non-admin. So now I notice I don't see the convention anymore, but if I go into the archives, I can see the conventions I've attended, and I can look at the schedule. At this point, it's not going to show you your individual schedule. It's just going to show you the full schedule, because really it's just for, you know, for the sake of just remembering what good times we had. That's about it. I hope the site is useful to you guys. I've really enjoyed using it. I got a lot of feedback from my players at HouseCon over the years that they are routinely amazed at how good the scheduler is and how they get to play in awesome games all the time. I've loosely told them that when new players join, I usually tell them, like, you're gonna get into like 3 out of your top 5 games, and that typically is true. Unless like the data is really bad and players like, if there's like one game that's super popular and absolutely everyone wants to play it, then then things get a little not great. But generally my experience is that players' tastes vary enough that that we spread out among our favorites, spread out amongst all the possibilities, and generally the system does pretty well in getting people into games they really like. Again, please leave me any feedback you can. Tell me what features you wish were there, how it works for you, if it does work for you, if it doesn't. If you need help figuring out the site and you're a beta user, drop me a line. I'll try to respond as quickly as I can, especially if your convention date is coming in hot. I'm trying to help you out as best I can. That's about it. That's the state of the site right now. Thanks so much again for checking it out, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.